The final day of, I guess, Okay. Over there it does because that's where it started. Yep. So now we know that this reaction is going to proceed. These bromines are going to kick them hydrogens out of there. And this is different than in organic chemistry because in this case, we're not concerned with balancing this chemical reaction out because you're looking at that and saying, well, you got two different compounds here. But unlike we'll say 2-butanol. Now that doesn't mean anything to you right now, but next chapter it will. For the production of, we'll say, chlorobutane and 2-chlorobutane. Okay, so you know what the answer is. You're supposed to create butane and chlorobutane. I just said the same thing twice, didn't I? Chlorobutane and 2-chlorobutane. Okay, so we need to know what that means. What does chlorobutane look like? How many carbons? chlorobutane and 2-chlorobutane, this is what it would look like. You're starting with butane, you're reacting with a halogen, you have to have a catalyst, and these are your two products. Maybe if I stood here, shadows, maybe let's kind of see that a little better. Okay? So there's your mechanisms, a little bit of review, okay, on naming these compounds. What about the alphabetizing? Okay, I think that's worth mentioning as well. What do you disregard? You always disregard all prefixes except isopropyl or isobutyl. Then you go by the I. So you disregard dimethyl, diethyl, okay? Those prefixes you disregard. Secondary butyl, tertiary butyl, those you disregard too. You go by the B's in there, okay? Must be what the buzz is all about. Bees, huh? Come on, crickets. Okay. Anything else? You've got the materials, okay? You've made it so far. And another thing, does anyone ever watch the? I kind of get into the show Survivor a little bit. Does anyone watch that if you get time? It's the challenges that they do that are so interesting. And I think if you ask the competitors, just say, we just take it day by day if we can just make it one more day, if we could just make it one more day. Sometimes I think with this hard content that we go through, it's not that we're trying to make it one more day. If you survive the problem quizzes, you're making it that one more day. Because if you have survived that, chances are you've got the tools that you need. Now, is it possible that in the back of your mind, we don't throw the ball up and we always want to have a good hit or a good spike or kill, whatever you hit or kill, what is it? If it's a hit, that means they return. If it's a kill, that means you got a point. Okay, so everyone wants to get that good hit or that kill, but sometimes it goes out of bounds. The goal was that, but it just didn't happen that way. The goal is to accomplish this, but sometimes just maybe caught you on a bad day. Okay? But keep in mind, we're only not even a quarter of the way done with the semester, and we've got over 200 points. So when you look at stretching that out to an entire semester, we might get to 600 or 700 points by the time this is all said and done. You can maybe ask your parents, back when I was in school, you only got about 300 points throughout a semester. Maybe yes, maybe no. I can't comment on that for sure. Anywho, the only thing that I would be concerned about is the isomers, and not so much the organic families, because I think you've survived that. Just the isomers is what I would be concerned about. And keep in mind, the smaller alkane that you have to draw, that means there's less of them. But the more, if you had to do like all the isomers of decane, that would be awful. I would venture to believe there's probably pretty close to, I think you get up to 25 pretty easily. We're not going to do that because we just don't have time. Okay? Because if you can prove that and a lot of you have, that if you can do that with octane and heptane and just come up with 7 of them, the more there is, as long as you don't have to come up with all of them. That might be a little difficult. But again, another curve we could throw in there is put a halogen on here, draw an isomer of that as well. Because remember, when we look at that, well, what is this formula over here? We know we've got C4, okay? And I bet you we got H9 and Cl. Butane is C4H10. There's our 4 carbons. One above and below is 8, and one on the ends would be C4H10. But on this end, we had that halogen that got attached onto here. So this one's C4H9, Cl, and so is this one. So these are isomers of one another. It's the same concept, you're just rotating that chlorine one further down the road. So is it possible to draw another isomer with rotating that chlorine or moving it? Do you think? You're shaking your head no, you are right, but why are you right? Yeah, because this is 2-chlorobutane, right? If you move that over one, you're just maybe I should have left that 2-methylpentane up there. I'll put him back up. Okay. Okay, so what would an isomer of 3-methyl, this is what this one was. Okay. So what would a condensed molecular formula be for this? Because this is the structural formula. What's the molecular formula? Okay? But that's what it is. It's just experience. I like to joke, because you students probably didn't realize it, but you probably had a lot of this memorized by the time you were done using it last spring. Maybe yes, maybe no. Okay? So 3-methylpentane also has the same formula as C6H14. So what would the parent compound of this be? Well, what's this guy right here? Hexane. We could also just draw hexane, because that would be an isomer of one another. Okay? That would be one. What other type of isomer? Because what we've done up to this point, we've started with this, then we would say take a carbon off and make a derivative of that. So here we're just kind of going the opposite direction, because this is still C6H14. We still have the same formulas, they're just different structures. What else do you think we could do? Can we get an ethyl group out of that? I don't think, we'll look at it. I don't think you can, and this is visualizing this in 3 dimensions, okay? So we know that we have to have 2 branching off of there, okay? So here's where it's attaching. So we've got 3 out of the way already. So how many carbons are left? Okay, we've got 3 carbons out of the way. How many are total? There's always going to be. So what happens if we do this? Because this is a lot of the mistakes that you were making. Is that an isomer of this? No, it is not. Because this is still what? It's still hexane, because there's nothing branching off of there. Because there's no such thing as one ethyl. So when we try to do that, if we move this over, does that look like 2-ethylbutane? It looks like it, but does that compound exist? It does, but not as a butane molecule. What is it instead? What's your parent chain? It's still pentane. This is correctly written as an isomer. Okay? No, I'm sorry, it's the same thing as this. Okay? This is still 3-methyl pentane. That's where if you had wrote something like this, I would just point up to here and write the same thing. Because those two compounds are the same. They're just bent a little differently. So, okay. So we'll kind of split the difference on what you said. Okay? So I'm going to take this guy off, and where can I put him? Okay? Can we put him here? No, we still have the same thing. But what happens if I put him way over here? Does this work? Yes, it does. Because now we got that branching off of the second one. Now that's no longer the same. And now what you had said, you said it correctly, but I want you to kind of see the difference. Okay, what I mean by that is, okay, so we've got 4 carbons, but we need to do 6. Okay, there's 2 more isomers, and one of them you had said correctly. You said do what? One above and now that can come 2 different ways. So we know one has to go on here. Where would you want the other one? Right here? But for space reasons, I'm going to put him down here. Okay? That is an isomer as well. Then there's one more. That's exactly what you can do. When you say put them on the same, this here is what you're looking at. You still have a butane molecule. And we'll put one here, and one up there. Yes, that would be all of the isomers for that. Okay, I know you're all in here next hour, but we're running out of time between the 2 classes. So, and I think it's important to actually take a mental break between now and then. So, save what you might have for next hour if there are any. But just keep in mind, all this is a lot of reactions in the isomers in the organic families. All right. Yes, what we took notes over. Yes, you're exactly right. Okay, we'll catch up to you next time.